Tonight, those affected by President Trump's federal funding freeze have a little longer to clear up confusion over the order. A federal judge has temporarily halted it. Earlier today, top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer sharply criticized the action.
This decision is lawless, it's destructive, it's dangerous, it's cruel, it's illegal, and it's unconstitutional. Donald Trump has done a lot of bad things in the last week, but nothing's worse than this.
Let's bring in two reporters who know a little bit about all this to discuss it a little more. Nancy Cook, a senior national political correspondent for Bloomberg News, and Juliegrace Brufke is a senior political correspondent for the Daily Beast, joining us from Doral, Florida, where House Republicans are meeting behind occasionally opened but mostly closed doors about the future as they prepare for some big legislation later this year. Earlier today at the White House, the new press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, defended this federal aid freeze. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
I think this is a very responsible measure. Again, the past 4 years, we've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis in this country. And it's incumbent upon this administration to make sure, again, that every penny is being accounted for honestly.
I get the drunken sailor spending bit, but Juliegrace, you're there with all of them in Florida. Is there sufficient support for what they pulled today among congressional Republicans?
Well, I've spoken to a number of lawmakers today, and there still seems to be some confusion to the scope of what it's going to affect. And there's definitely some concerns among moderates about what it would do to programs like Medicaid, rural school programs, senior programs. So there are a lot of lawmakers that kind of want answers, but also feel like there need to be spending cuts. So while many of them are optimistic, there are still a lot of questions that they would like answered at this point. I
imagine they can sit there and go, these ads write themselves. If you're withholding funding for Meals on Wheels or for school lunch programs or things like that, I mean, there's got to be a real scare among some of them. Does that have the potential to force the president, the White House, to pull back and change course?
Well, I think that they just didn't have a ton of answers about all of the programs affected. And we saw that in the first White House briefing today by Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. You know, she kept emphasizing that benefits that go directly to people like Medicare and Social Security aren't affected. But there's a ton of benefits that do flow through states like Medicaid or through nonprofits that then flow to people like Meals on Wheels. And there's just a real lack of clarity about sort of how the sweep of this federal funding freeze and you know, what it actually looks like.
Juliegrace, you are, as we said, in Doral. They're holding these meetings at Trump Doral, which has a handful of golf courses and a club or two, and certainly enough conference space for all of the House Republicans. What has been on their agenda? What's the purpose of these meetings, and what are we expecting them to come back to Washington having discussed?
No, so today they met with J.D. Vance, who kind of called for all of them to unify together, and particularly with this reconciliation bill coming up. So they're kind of trying to hash out what they could get in there as they look to extend the Trump tax cuts, roll back regulations on energy, deal with border legislation, all of this one bill that they're kind of looking to put together here. That being said, there's some moderates that are kind of temping down expectations, saying they don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but they're hoping to be able to get some things done. But there are still some disagreements with the Freedom Caucus on things like how to handle the debt ceiling and some other critical things that they need to tackle there as part of their agenda.
One of those critical things is so-called state and local taxes, or SALT, as it's known to those of us from the Northeast. And there's been a lot of focus on that, Nancy, as House Republicans try to reach this compromise on cutting spending, but also maybe restoring some tax credits for people who pay higher property taxes. To what extent do we think this was coming up in Florida and potentially muddies their ability to reach some kind of a compromise?
I'm sure it was coming up in Florida, and it came up last week. We saw one of the most vocal proponents of sort of making SALT more generous again, Representative Lawler. He visited the White House last week. The thing you have to remember is the margins among the House Republicans are so slim that if they're going to do something like a tax bill, they can't afford to have sort of 5 to 10 members from high-cost states like California, New Jersey, New York, where this is an issue. They can't afford to have those people not support the bill. And so they're going to have to, you know, make amends and sort of compromise with them. And this is just one of the opening salvos that they have to deal with the tax bill, sort of how much can people deduct from their state and local taxes. And again, this is an issue in these high-cost states where many donors live.
Over in the Senate throughout the rest of this week, there's going to be a lot of focus on some key confirmation hearings for top Trump choices. Juliegrace, there's apparently still big doubts about Tulsi Gabbard's chances. What have you heard?
Absolutely. I mean, we heard Susan Collins come out this week, and she has a lot of concerns about whether she's actually changed her position on FISA. There are a lot of concerns. I've spoken with Republicans about her past kind of relationship and positive comments about Assad. And I think those are all things that we're kind of going to hear emerge in recent days. And at the House Intel Committee, she can't lose any Republican votes. So she's really going to have to sway some minds with some critics on that panel. So I think of all the nominees right now, she might have the toughest climb of actually being confirmed.
Well, if not her, it's Robert F. Kennedy, who today drew some incredibly direct, outspoken criticism from his cousin, Caroline Kennedy, who spoke out in this video that emerged on social media. Take a look.
Overseeing the FDA, the NIH, the CDC, and Centers for Medicare Services, agencies that are charged with protecting the most vulnerable among us, is an enormous responsibility and one that Bobby is unqualified to fill. I've known Bobby my whole life. We grew up together. It's no surprise that he keeps birds of prey as pets, because Bobby himself is a predator.
And she goes into great detail in this letter that she sent to members of the House or the Senate Finance and Health Committees about, you know, things that he did back in the day when he was younger. Literally, she claims grinding up baby chickens and whatnot to feed to his hawks, encouraging substance abuse by his younger siblings, and of course, he's overcome his own. We had not heard from her throughout all this. Now she's speaking out. How does that potentially affect his ability to not only win enough Republican support, but maybe even a handful of Democrats who were thinking about doing it?
Well, I think it's just another hurdle for him. I mean, I think he has several hurdles. You know, his stance on the polio vaccine, his stance on vaccines in general, his past comments on abortion. I know there are some anti-abortion activists who have been trying to block his nomination.
Yeah.
So I think that he has, you know, a lot of problems potentially with his confirmation. And this is just the latest. And it's, you know, very personal comments that she's making. You know, about a family member, and I think it will definitely catch the heads, maybe not of Republicans, but certainly of Democrats.
I mean, even suggesting that her father and his father would have been ashamed of what he's been doing. It's a pretty incredible letter. You should check it out if you're interested. Nancy Cook, Juliegrace Brufke, thank you both for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.